What if your confusion was actually an advantage and an opportunity? When it comes to spiritual awakening, we often encounter so much confusion within ourselves. We want to understand what we are doing. We want to understand what we really are. We want to understand how to find freedom and liberation from our suffering. And usually we go about this by moving from our old belief systems into new belief systems. Maybe previously we thought that we really are this limited, finite body-mind, this entity which was born and someday will die and is subject to the circumstances of the world. And then we want to move to this new belief system where we are suddenly centerless, infinite, unbounded. But the thing about genuine spirituality is, of course, that we don't just want to adopt this as a belief system. We want to experience it, because we know that if it's just another belief, it won't really address our suffering in a substantial way. And of course, this is not a totally wrong intuition. Spiritual realization, if we want to call it that, has to consist of our own experience. Otherwise, it's quite worthless. It's just another belief, just more dead weight to carry around. But then, unfortunately, we run into confusion. Because what seems to be suggested to us, for example, that there is no separate self, that awareness is unlimited and unbounded, isn't actually clear to us in our experience. And because this is not obvious to us in our experience, we feel that we have failed and we feel confused more than anything. And here I return back to my opening question. What if this confusion actually wasn't wrong in of itself? But how does this make sense? How can being confused have anything to do with awakening? Well, let me suggest to you that if you feel confused, then you have discovered something that is absolutely essential to what I consider spiritual awakening. You have recognized and come into direct contact with the fact that what this essentially is, what you essentially are, is totally unresolvable. You can't know what it is. It's impossible to put it into any kind of conceptual framework. It is impossible to grasp hold of it, to define it into being any particular way. We can never know precisely what our true nature is, what this reality of our experience really is. It is simply too dynamic, too unbounded, too slippery, too information rich, too transcendent all in all, to ever be known in any sort of way that could satisfy our minds. So when you are confused, don't see this as a failure on your part. Simply see this as an opportunity to feel what your experience is actually like. To notice, so to say, what your experience is made of. And when you then feel and realize that what your experience is totally beyond any way of ever capturing it, what does that feel like to you? What is the pure feeling of your experience when you simply take it for what it is? When you fully embrace the fact that you can never pin it down, you can never define it, you can never capture it. When you simply feel the presence of your experience right now, and you let go of the idea of ever knowing exactly what it is, what does your experience feel like then? You might wonder now, well, if I can't understand what I really am, what good does that do me? How does that bring me the peace I am after then? Well, the fortunate news is that you don't need to understand what this experience of your true nature is. You can simply notice it, experience it, feel it, and all you are looking for, this liberation and freedom, if we want to call it that, is found just in the pure experience of it. You don't need to understand what it is. You are already in full contact with it, fully immersed in it, so to say, because you are it. And so paradoxically, even though you can't know what this is, you can nevertheless fully experience it. And that is good enough. So don't be obsessed with finding a clarity of understanding of what you really are. Even though that can be useful to some extent, you will always run into the fact that what you really are and what your experience really is cannot be defined, can never be captured. So simply embrace that. Simply embrace the unresolvability of your true nature.